Hi there, I'm Charlie, your online business manager and WordPress expert. My goal is to assist small to medium business owners build their businesses with a focus on using the internet and online technologies in an appropriate and cost-effective manner. People hire me to take the stress out of managing their businesses and allow themselves to focus on what they do best. Today, I'm speaking with Garik Tate, an AI futurist, investor, and AI strategy consultant. With a decade of entrepreneurial experience, he has founded and led successful companies in software development, outsourcing, and publishing. His experience lies at the intersection of AI, IQ, and EQ, getting his clients' businesses to achieve increased profits and ultimately get acquired at high valuations. Okay, that was a whole heap of words in there and analogies, but I want to say hi to Garik. Hello.
Hello. I couldn't have said it better myself. Literally, I tried.
And what I'd like to really do is get you to give us a bit of an overview of who you are, Garik. Explain some of those terms that I used in there, particularly IQ and EQ. I think we know what IQ is, but go through some of that. And then let's have a chat about using AI in our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So, IQ is the ability to. So I'll start first with the terms, and then I'll talk a little bit about me, my story, and then talk about what we're doing now, and then from there we'll dive into AI. So, first on the terms, IQ for me is just the ability to process data faster and hold more data in working memory. It doesn't mean that you actually process data better, only that you do it faster. So someone who has lower IQ can actually come to better realizations, have more clarity, and ultimately making smarter decisions. It's just that it might take time. If it's novel data, it might take them more revolutions in order to reach those good conclusions. EQ is your emotional intelligence, your ability to work with other people. And for me, humans, I am the most pro-human person you'll meet, even though I spent a lot of my time working with AIs. I think that they still can't hold a candle to us humans. And the humans are the greatest assets, both obstacles and also helpful things in our environment. And so the ability to have EQ is your ability to both understand yourself, understand other people, and then work with those people, because a lot of our motivations, a lot of our intelligence is baked into our more emotional sides. We've been around for millions of years, and a lot of intelligence is baked into our DNA, baked into our more unconscious areas, and then that's expressed with EQ. So it's about really combining all that and then kind of maximizing ourselves. So that's where my focus lies.
Thank you. Then that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And a short introduction to me. I came to the Philippines when I was 18 years old. I've been here for about 10 years now, starting multiple companies like the ones you said in software development, book publishing, and also virtual VAs or virtual executive assistants, virtual EAs. Overall, we do have about 60 employees, 60, and have about 7 figures in revenue. And where most of my focus is at right now is consulting other companies in order to increase their valuations when they want to get acquired.
Okay, so that sounds great. And yeah, so 10 years in the Philippines, that sounds fantastic to me.
Pretty much my entire adult life, I'm half Filipino at this point.
So let's have a chat about AI and business. And I think some of the concerns that my listeners and my viewers have is that AI might be taking over our jobs and might be taking over what we're doing. And if it's not taking over what we're doing, it's certainly using us as a model. And is that a good thing or a bad thing, or how do we use it?
So AI is learning from us. Ultimately, the way that I see it is it's definitely a tool that we use. AI at this point is not goal oriented. It doesn't have its own goals. It's only an extension of our will, so to speak. And what that means, and this is really important, is AI is not going to take your job, but you might be replaced by someone else using AI to become 10 times more effective. Now, an important point that is missing from that conversation is that the supply and demand curve often is constrained by the supply side, not the demand side. In other words, if every developer became 10 times more effective, we would actually want even more developers. We would love to have 10 times more code. And I think that this applies to many, many areas. We want more artists. We want more assistants. We want more people to help us make our lives easier. The problem is at the supply side, not on the demand side. So that's the first most important thing. And I always encourage people I coach to also remember that your brain will work 32% less efficient if you're coming at a problem from a position of fear. Literally, the blood goes from the front of your brain to the back, lowering your ability to come up with creative and novel solutions. And so it's really important to be gearing yourself in a position to be taking on the challenges in front of you and to be using AI so that you can become 10 times more effective as opposed to being replaced by someone else. And I'll throw in one last note. The most recent studies on the Fortune 500 companies are showing that 68% of them are creating new jobs and overall have a net positive number of jobs created as opposed to net negative. And this stuff is still early days. Probably a lot more shakeups and movements are going to be happening. But overall, I think there's a lot more evidence if you look at the data of positive things as opposed to doom and gloom, though it is industry specific.
Okay, so just a couple of things that I wanted to cover off there, and I'm actually going to invite Garik back for another session so we can talk about the future of AI and where he sees it going. Today, I wanted to keep it pretty focused on how we can use it today and how we can leverage it within our businesses. So I just wanted to sort of highlight that because there's questions that have already come up for me. Like I'm like, no, I won't ask that one just yet. I'm going to sit on that one. So let's talk about how we can use it because let me see if I got that right. You said 32% less effective if we come at something from fear.
Yes,
that's pretty amazing. So
and that's coming from executive decision making and creativity specifically. Those areas are handled by the neocortex.
Okay, so really what you're saying is that if you look at something that looks scary and can actually reframe it as a challenge or a positive for yourselves, you're going to actually achieve better. You're going to do better.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a bit of learning for all of us to take on board. Do you have hints and tips around that one, or do we just sort of look at how AI can affect us and how we can be using it?
I think a lot of things when it comes to wanting to shift yourself over to a more positive place is to start off with making sure you're taking care of your own body, doing self-care, making sure you're exercising, having a good diet. So then your body can really be a platform that is in your favor as opposed to working against you. And the other side of like the way that you build beliefs, and I got this from Tony Robbins, is that you build a belief one leg at a time. So if a belief is a table that can bear a lot of weight, you build it one leg at a time. You find specific pieces of evidence, and you can ask other people for help in this. You can say, hey, I'm wanting to kind of shift my perspective here. I'm trying to look for good news. What do you think about this from a positive point of view? And you start collecting pieces of evidence and constructing it one stool at a time. And the negative belief that AI is very negative. It's going to take over all of our it's going to take away our jobs. We're going to start becoming pets to the AI overminds in 30 years. All of those things. It's about taking every one of those legs that support that belief and trying to attack them with questions. Asking yourself, how do I really know this is a fact? What are certain biases that might be coming in mind, and trying to dismantle them just one stool at a time.
Fantastic. Okay, that's really great. And that then comes back to me asking you to come back a bit later and we'll talk about the future of it because I think that will help set those reframings for people. So let's talk about how a business can use AI and how you've actually implemented it. As I said to you, most of my viewers are small to medium business owners. They run, I guess, support type businesses doing different types of things. A lot of what they do does require a lot of mental input. You know, they've got to think about what they're doing. It's not well, it might be repetitive, but they need to understand what they're doing before they get to that repetitive point so that it can become repetitive. So how can they use it? What can we do here?
So, I think everyone who's listening to this has played around with ChatGPT, and is probably at this point, we're having this conversation in October of 2023, has probably been using it, especially if you work, as a white collar, support role, probably been using it quite a bit. A few months ago, while a lot of people were still kind of straggling behind, my biggest piece of advice was to carve off that Friday afternoon to do the deep dive. A lot of people even still have not carved out the deep dive space to really immerse themselves into it, watching other people use the technology, watching their use cases, using it yourself. So, I think a big chunk of this is just that deep schedule time. But assuming that you've done that, you already are very comfortable with ChatGPT. There's a whole next level of tools out there that are built on top of the GPT technology, the transformer technology, and that's really the next level for, I think, a lot of freelancers and a lot of VAs to be upgrading their skills. So the places I recommend people to dive in, and maybe we can put these links in like the show notes or whatever makes sense, is first of all, having learned ChatGPT, to make sure you have any new features turned on. So if you are paying for ChatGPT, you have access to plugins. If you're not, then a new feature is rolled out called custom instructions, which is really a system message that can sit above your regular chats. So if you go in ChatGPT and type in the custom instructions, you are a pirate that responds arg, then every future chat that you do, it's going to start responding that way. So a practical usage of that is you can install in that everything about who you are and about what your business does. So then if you're asking, hey, ChatGPT, give me a response to this email, or I'm trying to write this sales email to this person, or this person has this problem, or such and such, it can become pre-installed with the custom instructions that you've given it. And in fact, in my company, one thing we did is we created a database of different, what we call the word personas, different personas, because that's how I really think about the custom instructions, is that you're creating different personas of ChatGPT to help you with different types of tasks. So creating a database of different personas and then engaging with those can be extremely helpful. That's just really squeezing the juice out of ChatGPT even further. The next level after that I recommend people check out is to check out the ChatGPT Playground. If you just go to OpenAI/Playground, it should take you there. And what that does is it shows you a user interface in order to see how ChatGPT's API works. Why would you want to know how the API works? Because if you are using other tools that plug into the API, you can now build those with no coding necessary. So it just really deepens your understanding on a really fundamental level that can be useful down the track. And especially if you're comfortable with no code tools like Zapier or with make.com or other integration software, then you can be using those. If you're not using those or have never really touched a no-code builder tool, this one might be unnecessary. I might skip this step, and I could keep on going if you like with some other tools, but that's
no,
a big
I think
jump.
that's actually a really good start, because I'm not sure how far people have actually got using ChatGPT and AI tools. But you mentioned something there, so let's just go back to some practical uses of your ChatGPT and your AI tools. And you mentioned actually writing emails.
Yep.
Because I know that's something that we as support people have to do regularly. And if it's not writing emails, it's writing messages in private messenger to someone to say, this is where we're at, this is what's going on. How do they? Can you give us an example of that? I think that's a good way to start.
Yeah, so our VA company, 2XU, is branded as an AI specialized VA. It's specialized as you might not know how to run AI, but your executive assistant can maximize it more than you can. So we're not being replaced by AI. We're augmented by it. Is kind of our brand. So I have a lot of examples that we use inside of that company, and I would say that this is something that VAs can use as competitive advantages. So you can take that model and kind of replicate it. If you start building assets and pre-built templates for this kind of stuff and show those to clients in the sales uh in the sales calls and other things, you can really start building out a pretty good brand as a AI maximalist. So what does that look like practically? I think it boils down to creating a database, like I said, of custom instructions and also prompts that you can copy and paste and modify depending on what's in front of you. So um you probably know that in your regular to day work that a lot of your emails have similar parameters or else are similar types. So you can build prompts that you copy and paste the email thread into that prompt as a variable, and then it can spit out a first draft of what you're trying to achieve next. Actually, for this though, practically, what I typically do when I use this stuff is, to be honest, I more use Chrome extensions that automatically take the email thread up above. I believe that the
Neat.
one that I use
Okay.
most is Write GPT, that
Right,
Chrome extension.
GPT.
Write, WRITE GPT.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. So it'll actually trawl through the thread,
Yep.
pick up what's going on, and then try to write a response based
hmm
on that.
Another use that I use it a lot is I write the email and then I highlight big chunks of it. And I say just make this part clearer or what have you, and then it will improve those parts of the email that I know is weak.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing there, this is very similar to technology we've already been using, and have been using for a fairly long time. The grammar checkers, the spell checkers. What is that program called?
Grammarly.
Grammarly, yes. Very similar to Grammarly, where you put something in and it'll come back with suggestions for you. And this just works in your extension and in your email program right then and there.
We
And
use Grammarly in my publishing company, but to be honest, I haven't actually exposed myself to it very much, so I might be a little bit behind the curve on this.
well, I don't actually use it. I have seen it used, and I've sort of gone, well, okay, that's great. And if you're doing a lot of writing, then that's fantastic. But if you've got something that will actually go through and check your voice, and that's really what we're doing here, is we're checking our voice of the email to make sure it sounds like us, and still is clear enough to be sent out. I'm just trying to put some thoughts around this, because the AI might write the email for you, but you still can go through and tidy it up and put your own personal touch on it, or personalize it as you need, or you can just send it out as it is from the sounds of it.
I mean, so in my experience, what I'm always doing is I'm typically shortening it. The AI is trained off of the internet, and a lot of the internet is trash. It was written by a lot of folks that their first goal was to write SEO articles that were keyword packed and therefore use a lot of superfluous language, and generally the AI will reflect that. And so for this, like I said, I use Write GPT. I'll sometimes highlight a paragraph and say, hey, reduce this or shorten it. And I think that there's a lot of power in, once again, creating your own templates that, like, for me, one thing I have is I have a template that describes the tone I'm going for and also describes how to shorten it, or just says, hey, please shorten this. And I typically copy and paste that after my initial prompt. So my initial prompt says, reply to this email, achieving XYZ. And then the follow-up prompt, I just copy and paste saying, hey, now reduce it, make the tone more friendly, make it less formal, so on and so forth.
Okay, cool. Okay. So where I think most of my listeners will actually benefit from using this is by becoming the experts in those prompts, writing those prompts and getting those templates done. Because I honestly, I don't care how good AI is. It's only as good as the instructions that you're giving it at the moment. And you need to be really, really good at those instructions, putting those instructions in.
I completely agree. It really is an extension of the human using it. So the way that I think about it is that AI is doing to intelligence what electricity did with power. Power being described as the ability of force across distance. So at the turn of the 1900s, we started adding electricity to just about everything. A hammer became a jackhammer. Saw became a power saw. We started adding um, uh, force applied to the distance, power to everything around us. And now we're able to do the same thing with intelligence, but that intelligence is only defined as the inputs and outputs, saying, I need to achieve XYZ, output, write out in text or what have you. It still is constrained by your ability to articulate what you're attempting to say. So it's constrained by your voice and your eyes, the context that you're taking in. The fundamental skills are still the eyes and the voice. And how well you have those refined is going to be reflected in how well the AI serves your goals.
Oh, I saw a meme recently of from a website designer and a graphic designer saying, "Don't worry about it, guys, because AI still needs the client to be able to articulate what they want. We're fine."
Exactly. No, I truly believe that. I mean, I think that there's this old before, when we rolled out ATMs to bank tellers, the ATMs replaced 80% of what the bank tellers were doing. And so the obvious response to that is, okay, we only need 20% of the bank tellers we had before. Like, duh, it's done. But the number of bank tellers did not go down. It actually went up because we started opening up way more branches, and there was way more things we wish the bank tellers could be doing that weren't being done before. And so this point that your job is safe because a client doesn't know what they want, I think is literally true, is that they are getting your help to articulate the vision. They have like a little flicker of a flame in their head, and they're putting their candle next to yours, and they're trying to get your flame to burn the same way, and to like kind of define and light it up and design it. And then once it's clear in both of your heads, then the AI can execute against it way better. So it's going to increase the amount of work being done, but the core essence of the work is still what it is, which is that ability to see it.
Yep. Okay. So how can our business owners who are content creators themselves, and they do their own writing, they'll put information up, and they're not writing SEO keyword packed articles, which I absolutely loved you said, by the way. How do they protect themselves? Can they protect themselves? What do they need to think about in those terms? Is there anything they need to think about in those terms?
So the way that I see that is that, definitely our culture is creating new norms and mores around this, and right now it's kind of wild west out there about was it that you can do, or like what if you just write 20 articles with just 20 prompts and then you call it a day. We're in the wild west right now, and a lot of new norms and cultural touch points are being created. It's really important to also in that situation know what your own morals are, what your own values are, and also see where civilization is going and try to get ahead of that. And on that side, I'd say overall, I'm not a particular judgmental person. I don't have too many thoughts on that side. One practical piece of advice I can give people: if you are worried that AI is going to be taking your data, one thing that you can do to protect yourself is using the OpenAI playground, because when you access it through the playground or use the API, that data is not recorded in ChatGPT's long-term memory. They hold it, I believe, for either 30 or 60 days in case of legal reasons, but then it's deleted and it's never used as training data. Now, of course, if you publish it and then that data is rescraped then that's a different thing. But if you're wanting to distance yourself and kind of protect your voice from being consumed, that is a good first step to be doing that.
Fantastic. That's really good advice. So use the playground, the OpenAI
Yep.
playground.
OpenAI playground.
Okay, and I will get all these links and I will put them in the show notes for people because there's a lot of information coming through here. Now, when we started our conversation, you mentioned working with teams. Is there a way you work with teams with AI in a different manner to working on your own?
Everything we're saying about you as an individual leading teams with AI, I think it all applies, and the basic leadership skills is still what applies. So it's in my mind similar to how you would navigate any sort of major digital transformation. It boils down to creating compelling vision, and that compelling vision, they have to be included within it. So they have to see what's in it for them. It's about communicating with them effectively, listening to them, recognizing and rewarding progress, and also leading by example. The only thing that they'll add on top of that is creating that compelling vision. It's you can take what we had said earlier in this podcast, the idea that you're not going to be replaced by AI, you're going to be amplified by it. Someone else might be becoming 10 times more effective, and then you need to make sure that you're in that camp. But also, learning AI in your team, if you're really maximizing it, is going to do wonders for their career in the long term. They're going to be getting ahead of the curve. They're going to be learning new things. You can really create quite a heaven if they do and hell if they don't compelling vision that answers a question that everyone's always asking, what's in it for me, so that they have to be included in that compelling vision. But I think that's the same for any major digital transformation.
I think it's the same for anything that you do within your business. If you want to bring your team on board, you've got to give them reasons to want to do something. And I'm just going to go back to when the computers first ended up on our desktop, there was a lot of people out there going, "Oh, this is going to get rid of a lot of people. We're going to do away with jobs." And okay, sure, your traditional secretary has disappeared. The person sitting at the desk outside the boss's office. Well, no, they haven't actually disappeared.
Not really, no.
They've just recreated themselves. They now do a whole heap of different things. They manage diaries. They're so much more effective at managing diaries and fielding calls and making the boss's life easier. Their jobs haven't disappeared.
Our company 2XU wouldn't be around if it wasn't.
Correct. Yeah, they're even more valuable. Now, maybe our typing pools have disappeared, but they've been recreated in different ways across different parts of the business. And I think those people are actually got more career opportunity overall, more opportunity overall in what they're doing, and what they can learn and what they can deliver to their business and for themselves. So yeah, I like that view. I like that vision.
There and there certainly are some industries that I think the constraint is more on the demand side. It's like, in the Philippines, I live nearby one of the major call center areas in the Philippines, and I do believe that a lot of call center jobs, especially for customer support, are going to not be necessary anymore. It's still going to be about amplifying individuals because they're going to automate certain regular types of problems, but there's still going to be a few people that are necessary for the exceptions. Automate the regular so you can exceptionalize the exceptional, or whatever that phrase is. So it's still about amplifying a few individuals in my mind, but it does mean that we have to ask ourselves, do we need 10 times more customer support folks? And the answer to that, I think, is no. So people in that position have to ask themselves, do they want to double down? When radio started getting killed, a few radio companies exploded in value because they just gobbled up all the other radio companies. So there are winners in situations where a industry shrinks. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to double down and go for that winner take all, or are you going to look for greener pastures of other areas where they are ballooning and growing in size, because we want more developers, we want more secretaries, we want more assistants. You have to ask yourself that, depending on where you're positioned. But I think overall there's a lot more good than harm when you take it in macro.
Well, and I mean, this comes back to you mentioned when electricity came in and how things changed when electricity came in. I can't remember which of the authors and speakers I heard this from, but what they said is know what business you are in. Don't focus on what it is you do. Know what business you're in. When
Love that.
when airplanes, that's what it was, when the airline industry started up and when plane travel became more common and more cost effective, a lot of the train companies went out of business. They just folded because people stopped taking the train and started flying because it was cheaper, it was quicker, it was more comfortable. The companies that did really, really well said, no, we're not in the train business. We are in the people transportation business. And they reframed their vision based on that. Some of them became airline companies, some of them became bus companies, some of them did something else entirely different. That might have been your disruptors at the time as well. But know what business you're in and don't keep it down to keep it down to a narrow view, but make it something more ephemeral, I think is what the word I'm trying to say there, trying to use.
I love that question of, what business are you in? I was just read the book. I'm a little bit late to reading it. It's already been out for a long time, but Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he talks about the hedgehog concept of you need to be in the middle. It's kind of ikigai. You need to be in the middle of three overlapping circles. What can you be the best in? What is economically makes sense, and what are you passionate about? And the idea is that you can change any one of those three. You can change any of it, but you always are going for that center point and asking that stuff like, what's a real business that we're in? I think it's another question to get at that clarity, because I think a lot of things are disrupted right now, but the core essence of so much of what we do is still that same core essence.
I like it. I do like it. All righty. So is there anything else you wanted to add in what we've discussed today?
No, this has been a lot of fun, Charlie. I've really enjoyed it.
I'm really glad. So let me ask what I always ask my guests. What's the one thing you want someone to take away from this conversation today?
I think that the one thing that I hope this conversation inspires is hopefully a little more optimism. Hopefully, not fake optimism either, but like real optimism, based on what the data shows, as well as motivate optimism that drives forward action. That's the only real thing.
Fabulous. Now, how can people get in touch with you? Do you work with people? Do you offer coaching services? Give me a little bit more about yourself there.
Yeah, and so for your audience, I would just say that if you're looking for a partner to increase your business's valuation, and that could also be a services-based business, or you need help building a software application, especially things that work with AI, which are a specialty, then just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just say that I saw you on the Charlie show, and I will immediately accept it. And so that's the big thing.
Fabulous. I'll make sure I put Garik's contact details in the show notes as well. I'm just going to pull my notes across here. I would also like to invite you all to come and join my locals community. Being a business owner can be tough. Being a business owner who works remotely can get lonely and frustrating. And I want my locals community to be a bit like the old water cooler of old. Treat my community as a place where you not only get to interact with me, but each other. You can gain inspiration, provide inspiration and advice. And of course, as members, you'll always be able to ask questions of myself. And as Garik was mentioning earlier in our podcast, you can probably reframe some of your thoughts and look at making your thoughts a little bit more positive around things. So please do come and join me on my locals community. That's askcharlieletham.locals.com. And also remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the notification bell so you find out when I drop more content. Apart from that, I'd like to thank Garik for being such a great guest and providing such great information today. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. It's been a lot of fun.
And I'm going to wish you all a great week.